Hey guys, it's Danny. Welcome to the end of the year. I think everybody's happy about it. I am too. It is time to do a little bit of a recap like we did last year, sort of. I'm just going to look a little bit back on 2020, orchids-wise, not everything else-wise, because oh boy. This year has been horrible, but I'm not going to focus on that. I will go a little bit about some topics that you guys asked me about and then revisit some stuff that I did this year, which maybe didn't work out. Some of them maybe they did, and reflect a little bit on my decisions, orchid decisions in 2020. First though, I'm going to start with a little bit of a cheat. I'm going to talk about LECA and semi-hydroponics. It's not really a cheat because throughout the entirety of this year, some of you asked me why I gave up LECA, what went wrong, what you should be worried about, and I did actually address it in last year's recap, sort of, but the thing is, I didn't put it in the title. I didn't actually make it very clear, so even if you searched for why I'm not using it, I don't think you would find that particular video. So I'll make sure to put it in the title this time and just go over it really fast, just to clarify it in case some of you are still wondering. So if you're new, if you didn't know, about 3 years ago, I actually had my entire collection in semi-hydroponics in LECA. And that worked out pretty okay for a while. I have always had a dream of growing my orchids in inorganic media, a medium that I don't have to switch, I don't have to throw away, I can reuse, it's gonna be economical, it's not gonna bother the roots. Stuff dreams are made of. Well, things didn't really work out that well. First I tried Ceramis and that didn't work out, so I had to get my orchids out of that situation as soon as possible and put them in something else. So I put them in semi-hydroponics and that worked quite okay at the beginning, so I put everybody in semi-hydroponics and then it stopped working. All that great. Basically, I kind of got fed up with the maintenance, is how I would summarize it. See, LECA has some very unique properties. As I discovered, the brands that I have available, which are the IKEA brands, what was that accent? IKEA, and Pocon, which is a German brand, I think, they tend to raise the pH a lot, like a lot, in the 8s and 9s, which is a lot. Not very okay for the root system. Possibly in the world there are other brands which don't seem to raise the pH all that much. Even when it comes to IKEA, there are different manufacturers. For Europe, manufacturing can be done in a European country, and for the USA, maybe manufacturing is done in the USA. So even with the same brand, you can actually have surprises of finding differences between the products that the store sells. So I'm not going to generalize and say all LECA raises pH because I really don't know, but the LECA that I used, both of the brands raised pH like heck. Now, of course, you can prime it. You can soak it in a pH down solution, whatever type of acidic solution that lowers the pH. You can actually soak them. Ray actually suggests that you soak them in magnesium, in Epsom salt. I did that. I did all of that. I primed the LECA. I did all the works in order to make it, let's say, more acidic because it was so alkaline. And it kind of worked for a little while, but then as the LECA started to dry out, it kind of started to shift again towards that very alkaline pH. I researched it a little bit and I couldn't find any strong evidence of anything other than some people suggesting that whenever LECA dries, it kind of reactivates some compounds that shifted the pH towards the high scale again. Of course, anecdotal, I guess, but it was somebody else having the same issue as me. So what I started to do is always prime the water that I used when I was watering my orchids. I was actually making it quite acidic with the acidic solution that I have or had, and also the fertilizer, which reduced pH as well. And that was okay, I guess. High maintenance, but okay. But then something else started to happen. As the orchids started to grow and take over the entire pot and fill the pot with roots actually, they started to become very thirsty, which is not a bad thing. They do become thirsty when they outgrow, quote unquote, their pot. Obviously, they're gonna absorb more water. The thing is though, in my warm seasons, which are spring, summer, autumn, only winter is kind of cool here, it was a chore to keep these orchids hydrated. And many orchids would show a lot of signs of dehydration. Some of the more finicky ones, let's say in the Odontoglossum alliance there, they really didn't have a good time. Cattleyas were okay, some of them were not, surprisingly enough. but I just had a very, very bad time with keeping up with their watering regime, which, yes, I did try to fix with making the reservoir higher, but how high can you go at the end of the day? So I didn't want to make the reservoir up until here. What is this? And also, I started to use bigger and bigger pots, which was okay, but they took up a lot of space. So in the end, the pH situation coupled with the drought situation, also coupled with the efflorescence, you remember that white stuff? Yeah. Porous materials are very prone to efflorescence, which is an accumulation of salts. I will be honest, the roots didn't seem to mind it. It appeared not to be very hygroscopic, maybe it was a little calcium, I don't know what it was, the roots didn't mind it. But every fifth comment at some point referred to the salt buildup. And when you're scrolling and trying to read what people are telling you, maybe respond to some comments, every fifth comment being the same comment, it kind of got frustrating, and I tried to flush more often or flush the orchids that I was gonna film, but at some point I was filming the entire greenhouse and I really didn't have time to flush everybody once a week because the salts were accumulating so fast. So even though that was not a main reason, the pH situation, the drought, the small inconveniences, they all at some point filled my glass. I am the type of person who tolerates many things, but they do kind of store up in a glass, and at some point that glass reaches the top and then there's a tiny little drop that falls and spills everything. And at that point I'm pretty much done. I'm willing to start from scratch. I'm willing to do anything not to be in the same situation. So I gave up LECA and semi-hydroponics completely about 1.5 years, almost 2 at this point. And ever since then, all of my orchids have been potted in bark and sphagnum moss. And I have to say, even though I'm still interested in trying out media and materials, and I have some stuff ready, I really enjoyed this year focusing on performance. This is something I was interested in for quite a while. Yes, honey. Yeah, Maya agrees. So I really enjoyed how some of my orchids performed. They did great. And that's just because I don't have to hassle way too much with this medium. Because I use sphagnum moss, water retention is over 9,000. It's really good. And also because these materials are naturally slightly acidic, again, I don't have to worry about pH down and adjusting my water and things of the sort. So my life has been easier, orchids have been happier. That's pretty much what I wanted. Now, is semi-hydroponics a bad setup? Absolutely not. I really believe not everybody will have the same experience as me. Some of you might, some of you might not. It's definitely worth a try because, hey, it's an organic. It's very economical. But if it ends up being more hassling than anything else, you know, it's not for me. Not a bad setup, just not for me. I'm enjoying the hobby as it is right now. Although these have cons as well. Everything has a con. But so far, I'm okay. I'm still in the business of trying out new stuff, which I will. But this year, I kind of just wanted to chill a little bit with that whole situation and enjoy performance. So that's the whole story with the LECA and semi-hydroponics. Maybe this will give you some ideas of things to look out for and maybe find better ways to address them than I did. So if this helps in any way, then I'm happy. If you were just curious to know the reasons, these are the reasons. So another project that I did this year was the cool growing space in my greenhouse. Now, I was interested in finding an easy, obtainable, affordable way to keep some cool growing orchids even in a home. As you know, the greenhouse that I call greenhouse, it's actually a plant room at the end of the day. It's not a greenhouse. It has walls, it has lights. I cannot hose anything down. I cannot really increase humidity all that much here. I do have an AC, but you know, electricity is not cheap. So I wanted to see if there is any obtainable way for typical home growers to grow Draculas, Masdevallias, and things of the sorts. And you might remember the video, I did a little cool corner with clay pots. They were on the ground where cool air resides. I used a humidifier, used a fan, the clay pots, and hoped for the best. And what happened? It didn't go well. No, the thing is, oh, there's a little spider buddy. What you doing, Spider-Man? Oh, he's flaring at me. You see him? Okay, let's put you on a plant. Right, so the thing is, not only are my summers hot, many people have hot summers, but they last a very long time. 1 year, I think the second year when I was here, summer started in March, no joke, ended in October. And then autumn came in November. and December. So warm weather takes a long time here. And not only that, in summertime, nights are super hot as well. You just have no break. Unless you use an AC all the time, you just don't have any type of break. So the vast majority of my orchids were okay with that, but the Draculas and Masdevallias, oh no, not even the Miltoniopsis really. I still have the Nelly Eiler. The Miltoniopsis, they're not doing all that great. They're just surviving. So yeah, that was a bit of a fail. I don't think that I can keep these orchids without a type of fridge. Some of you guys gave me some good ideas on wine fridges and other things that I might explore in the future. Not now though, because this space is limited, it's already full. I'm gonna give you a tour, I promise, maybe next episode. So the room is already full, the bills are already pretty high, so it's not the time for me to invest in fridges and things of the sorts. I don't even think an evaporative cooler, which was another option I thought about this summer, would be enough. To be fully honest, I don't think it's gonna do a constant good job for long enough. And I think it's a bit of a hassle as well. So for now, I think I will take a break from the cold or cool growers. There are some orchids which are on the limit. They're intermediate. Those work. Those are okay. Not the happiest, but they're okay. But this is the only Dracula that I still have, and I do have a different setup in mind for it. It simply dries super fast, that's one of the aspects, but also it really does not like the heat. Now we're okay, we're in winter, but come spring, this girl will not be happy. So for now, I'm not gonna spend my money on Masdevallias anymore until I have a proper setup for them. And if you're in the same situation as me where you have really hot temperatures all the time and you don't have a designated room or something to constantly chill, an enclosure, I don't think some of these orchids will work out that great. Some might survive, some might flourish, some of them actually are pretty resilient. This is the Felix. It's pretty resilient in comparison to everything else that died, but is it happy? Oh, hi, Director Maya. No, she's not happy. So no more of these for me. I'm gonna focus on stuff that I know I can grow without hassle. One thing that worked out kind of great this year for me was the potted Vanda situation, which we talked about recently. I'm just gonna go through it really fast. Basically, at the end of the year, I had my Vandas potted in plastic pots, and that was okay. But then, all of a sudden, the pots started to crack. They started to fall on the ground. I found my Vandas on the ground. And really honestly, ever since I switched countries, I came here, I just couldn't find that proper setup to please them and please me as well. I always seemed to hassle with these guys until this year. So that was a bit of a blessing in disguise, the fact that those plastic pots became very brittle due to the weather, because I was forced to use the pots that I had at hand. It was at the beginning of the pandemic. We didn't go out way too much, and certainly I didn't want to go to the flower shop just for some pots for epiphytic orchids, which can do very well bare rooted as well if you put in the work. So I had my clay pots at hand, which I had for a few years. I gave those up at the beginning of 2017, I think, or something of the sorts. So I had them lying around and thought, hey, why not? Let's use them because it's trying times. So I used them, and guess what? They did great. I know, not even Maya can believe it. So the thing is, yes, they're very airy, very ventilated. Vandas are very drought tolerant as well, and they love the airiness of it. But here's the thing, if I make sure to have a, let's say, tall enough basin under the pots, I can actually fill this basin with water, just let it be, walk away, mind my own business, and everything is okay. Because the pots will absorb the water, the medium inside will absorb the water as well because it's moss and bark, but moss. And that managed to keep my Vandas very hydrated even for a week. And this is because, yes, they have been left to dry out for a couple of days or so. Maybe they were still slightly damp on the 4th day or 5th day. But 2 days I let them completely dry, and then once a week to water them in summer. That's the life. So they kind of worked out great for me. I'm gonna continue with this setup. I don't know how it's gonna be when I will have to unpot them. Hopefully, it's not gonna be as hard as I fear it will be, but we're just gonna see then what happens. So far, so good with the Vandas. I'm happy. I also, in the summer, hang them with those macrame hangers, which can hold up quite a little bit of weight because these guys, I think she's about 1.5 kilos at this point. So in the summertime, they look pretty. In the wintertime, they come in the greenhouse. They can sit on the shelves. They have their own little shelf now. I'm very happy with the Vandas. I've always wanted to have more Vandas, but the problem was, yeah, honey, the maintenance of it all. They're not very easy maintenance, but this just made everything much easier. Next thing that was kind of not necessarily new, but kind of flourishing for me this year. No, not the Dendrobium phalaenopsis, but I really wanted to show you this guy because he's so pretty, not just my shirt a little bit. No, the thing I'm referring to is artificial light. Now, you might know I have been using artificial light in my grow room for 4 years or so at this point, and I went through some not so good setups to some really okay setups. I'm still running my LED panels, and my oncidiums seem to be very okay with it. They're not grow lights, they're kitchen lights. But the thing is, technology advanced so fast in this department. When I moved here, getting LED tubes wasn't really a walk in the park. Nowadays, they're kind of everywhere. They look much, much better. They are much thinner. Not to mention on Amazon, you can actually find a lot of proper grow lights, which are full spectrum. And I do believe they are better. I don't know if you're gonna see a lot of difference between a good kitchen light and a good grow light. When it comes to orchids, with other plants, yeah, I think you will see a difference because they grow faster. But orchids, they don't grow fast. They don't really require a lot. I did try out a few grow lights, starting with the Gemma at the beginning of the year. Then I went and bought myself those really slim LED panels, which I talk about on my second channel more. Then I have some lights which you don't know. I didn't talk about them yet, but I did film a video a month ago or 2 months ago about them. They are grow lights from Barina or something like that. They're really pretty. I'm using them in the famous IKEA greenhouse shelf, whatever, with my phalaenopsis, and I really, really like them. So I've been trying out a few lighting situations, and to be honest, I enjoy both grow lights and kitchen lights. Currently, I have like the shelves behind me. I'll show you. They have kitchen lights because I can find them easily here. So on the shelves, I am still using the kitchen lights from Leroy, and I'm pretty happy with them. But I have to say, grow lights have become a lot more accessible and a lot better looking. Many of them are not that really awful, in my opinion, purple light. Some of them can still have a pink hue or maybe a tiny blue hue. I have some lights which are a little bit on the red side. They're all doing great, to be fully honest, and they're much more pleasing to the eye than they used to be. Reason why I never used that purple grow light is because I cannot handle it. It really affects me in a way. It's very strange. And I think I'm not the only one. Many of you told me you feel the same, and I feel like globally people don't really prefer those lights. They will still go for a kitchen light than that really awful purple light in many cases, not all cases. So recently I feel like grow lights became more and more pleasing to the eye, which makes me very happy because I am okay using them. I was never against them. I just could not handle the purple, but I can handle the really pretty pink hue from the Barina ones. They make flowers pop like nothing else. If the flower is a little pink or a little red or a little purple, it pops in that light. It's beautiful. I also enjoyed the yellowish reddish grow light, quote unquote, that I got from Amazon as well. That's a worm light. I enjoy it a lot. My orchids enjoy it too. I was afraid that the lack of blue wavelengths will affect them more, but so far so good. It doesn't seem to affect them all that much. I did combine them with some kitchen lights just to give a little bit of blue because I was concerned, but so far so good. So I feel like in the next years I will go more towards artificial light because some areas of my green space, yeah, green space, they're not properly lit in, and I've always had issues in those areas. So recently I kind of redecorated the grow space. I removed some of the shelves that simply weren't functional, and I added shelves that are functional, but they need lighting. So I'm absolutely into trying out more lights and using more artificial light. You might notice that I'm not using the very popular brands that actually sponsor with products a lot of YouTubers, simply because I feel they're unnecessary for my situation, and if I cannot make a good review out of them, it would just be a waste of product for me. But that's the only reason I don't use them. They're way too strong for what I need. I don't have very tall shelves, so I need something that is not that strong, because I wanted to project the light 50 centimeters down, not more. If I will ever need something to project from the ceiling to the floor, yeah, I'm gonna go for one of those very powerful grow lights, maybe. Now it's not the case. I don't see it being the case anytime in the future. So that's why I don't use them. I think they're a little too much, a little bit of an overkill. They're kind of pricey as well, so I'm more into the 20-30 euro price range at the moment. But yeah, I'm enjoying artificial light a lot, and my orchids are enjoying it as well. One more thing that kind of went okay for me this year after having not so great success with in the past is jewel orchids. Oh gosh, my hair is everywhere. But the thing is, the sources that I typically use for orchid shopping don't really have jewel orchids. These have been purchased from a seller that I don't really trust with packing. I received a first order which was packed wet and it arrived mush. And then a second order which, after I told them, please don't pack them wet, let them dry out, I promise they will be okay, they packed them semi-wet, a little bit damp. So not all of them perished on transport, but some did. I definitely ordered the Mycotis sanderiana. I wanted it so bad. It perished twice. So this is the Mycotis petola gold, which I really like. And this, surprisingly, is supposed to be the Laetitia discolor alba variety. It doesn't look like a discolor. Is it really? I feel like the veins are a little bit different. I'm not entirely sure, I need to research. But anyway, the ones that I have are finally doing pretty okay, and I do have a vision for them. The thing is, I kind of want more of them, and for now, I don't have many options of purchasing them. Being that the situation is how it is, postal services are just, no, not functioning for this island pretty much. So with the sellers that I usually purchase from, I came to an agreement that they will send them through DHL or UPS, and I would pay the shipping for it, which is more expensive, but at least I can get orchids delivered in good condition. Not all sellers are willing to do that though, and a seller which does have jewel orchids at the moment doesn't want to answer me, so I don't really know where to purchase more jewel orchids at the moment from sources that I'm okay with. There are some nurseries which I'm not okay with, but that's a different story. So I would love to have more of these, but I don't know where to purchase them from in the EU. If you guys know, if you have any idea, let me know, because I do have a really cool idea for them. The downside with these guys, for me, is keeping them pest-free. They're prone to having some pest issues, but I do usually resolve them with my leaf shine. Don't freak out. I don't make the leaves shiny. I just spray a little bit of oil on the leaves and everything is okay. This is how I kept them in perfect condition up until now. But obviously, I would rather not do that on a regular basis, because if I drop too much oil, we're not okay. So I have a sort of sanctuary in mind, which will look very pretty, but I don't have enough of them to fill what I want to fill. So I'm looking for more jewel orchids. I love them. Remember when I said I didn't like the Laetitia discolor? It's still not my favorite out of all jewel orchids, but it has grown on me, and the rest of the jewel orchids are just so beautiful. I want more of them. I don't know where to purchase them. And lastly, let's talk about another fail, the terrarium situation, which was overrun with mushrooms. I think I figured out it's the yellow mushroom, which is a common occurrence in pots. It appears to be pretty harmless to plant, but quite toxic to humans and pets. I don't want it in my room. So I had to give up the terrarium. I might redo it. I'm not yet sure what I want to do with it. Maybe a sort of enclosure for some mounts. Some orchids actually look very good being mounted, but the maintenance, No. So if I can make my life easier, I will. Anyway, out of that whole bad situation with the terrarium arose a bit of interest for Pleurophthalus and Restripias. And there's another Zootrophon. Where is you? Where did I put you? I don't know where I put him. I rearranged the grow space, but I found another Pleurophthalus. So this was in the terrarium, this was in the terrarium. These ones I purchased to put in the terrarium, but at some point I noticed something alien was growing in it, so I decided against it. And these types of orchids, the Pleurophthalids, they were never high on my wish list. I don't know, it's just something that didn't really attract me, but I think they looked really well in the terrarium. Now that the terrarium is gone, what do I do with them? Well, I repotted them. Hopefully they're gonna do okay. And look, one of them decided to actually bloom. Well, this is a bud, it's not in bloom just yet. And when I saw this, my freezing cold heart started to melt, because it's a little bud. It gave me a little bud, and I mistreated it so badly. Up until now, I had it in a clay pot, and it got super dehydrated super fast because this orchid actually has a large root system. I repotted it recently. You can actually see the root system even through this pot. It has a very big root system, surprisingly enough, and you can see I have a lot of leaf tip dieback. It got so dry in the warmer months. I'm not sure why it's blooming, to be honest. But you know what? I'm super excited to see it. Generally, when I see the blooms in pictures or in videos, they don't really attract me much, but reality is just different, you know? Wow, I'm so good at stating the obvious. So now I'm really curious if I can actually grow these guys. It has also been an issue, the fact that supposedly they're more of the cool to intermediate growers. Maybe not all of them. I think one or two of them are actually worm growers, according to orchid species. I did make sure not to buy anything which is super cold. I do have one which is a cold grower, but surprisingly enough, it's okay. And I think it's the Pleurophthalus viduata. This one has a beautiful flower, and it's still growing okay. So maybe I'm gonna do okay with them, who knows? The Restripia elegans, which was in the terrarium, which I really actually liked, I'm sad to say it didn't do so well in the terrarium. I'm hoping she will pick up growth in the pot. Although the root system grew, it's just that the leaves, they didn't like something, I don't know. Maybe that mushroom affected it. I sprayed it with hydrogen peroxide. It's okay now. But yeah, now that I have a few Pleurophthalids, I'm kind of curious. Yeah, I want to take better care of them now, and if I end up enjoying them, why not? Maybe they will be a good candidate for the little sanctuary that I want to do for the jewel orchids, because they're tiny and they fit in multiple shelves. Let's put it like that. Not that I had issues with pests necessarily on them. This one had a few pest issues. You can see it had a few mites and a few thrips, but they're gone now. And that is about it for today. Thank you guys so much for joining and hanging out with me. I hope you had great holidays, or you still have them, depending when I'm gonna upload this video. Anyway though, I think those were the highlights of this year orchid-wise. There might have been others, but I think these are the ones that stand out for me. So let me know in the comments down below, what were the highlights for you when it comes to orchids this year? I would be really curious to know. So with that said, again, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to my channel for more orchid videos, tutorials, experiments, updates, and other fun orchid subjects. If you wish to support the channel, do consider becoming a member or visit the merch store linked down below in the description. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. It's always nice to stay in touch there as well. And I'll see you all next time. Bye!